Well, look at this. More of my moonflowers are open. And I've got a pot of them in the back that's sitting in a tote. Aren't those pretty, y'all? They're closing up because it's noon, almost noon, so they won't stay open past noon. You know, when the sun comes out, they'll close up and die, and then more will bloom because they only stay open for 24 hours. Aren't those pretty? And the hummingbirds love them. You have to leave those pods on the stem until they turn brown like that. But before they pop open, you don't want them to pop open like that one did and drop seeds, unless you want the moonflowers to come up where the seeds drop. That's just the thing. Because they'll come up every year, but then they'll produce some more seeds, and then they'll produce some more plants wherever those seeds drop. So you have to be careful. I only plant them in places that I don't mind if they drop seeds, but wasn't counting on them dropping it there. I was going to come get that seed pod before it burst open, and I let it get away with me. I didn't come get the pod. So, but anyway, that's how they do it. You'll have a green pod at first, and then it'll gradually turn brown or tan. And when it turns like that, it'll start to split open. You need to pick it. Don't let it drop the seeds unless you want more plants to come up where the seeds drop. And then you'll have more seeds to plant wherever you want them. So that's moonflowers, y'all. Oh well, looks like the ones back here opened and they're already closed because they get more sun earlier in the day back here than they do up on the porch. But all of my stuff is looking good back here. I've got blooms on this squash or zucchini. This one too. All of them have blooms, but I don't know if they'll survive and produce anything. I got I don't know if that's a sunflower or what that is coming up with my greens now. You never know. But yeah, the moonflowers open at almost at dark in the evening. They stay open all night. And then when the sun comes up real strong the next day, they close up. And those opened last night. 4 of them did. 5. And I was hoping to catch them, but they're already closed up because they get the sun first thing in the morning back here. Where the ones up there on the porch, they're still in the shade. That's why they're open as much as they are. So, that's moonflowers, y'all. Aren't they pretty? I think the plant itself is pretty. Check on my stuff over here. Yeah, that's growing. So we'll see what happens. It's not going to be quite as hot this week as it was, today as it was yesterday. Look at there, I got one down here. If an animal don't eat it. I'm just hoping it survives. And that vine is just, look at that. Instead of growing up, it wants to grow over and over and just keep going. My shark fin there is starting to crawl. That one is too, look. I'm just hoping it'll stay cool enough that it will survive and produce something. I don't know how that rock got in there. Need to pull those out, I guess. The ochre there's come up and living. Yeah, all my bell peppers are trying to bloom. So, we'll see what happens with all this. Well, there's an update on my stuff on this side of the house. All of those vines have coming back to life. My bell pepper, tomato plants. I don't know if those tomato plants will do anything, but they're still living. And I think they're like a grape tomato or the cherry tomato that's in there. So they're getting kind of long and lanky. And all of this is blooming, so I planted melons, I planted cucumbers. So we'll see if they get pollinated. Like, see right there? I don't know if that got pollinated or not. It's turned yellow. But it's growing. We'll see what happens. My peppers here, they're all bell peppers. I do have a squash plant growing there. And it's blooming, but I don't see a squash on it yet. But my pepper plants are doing its best to put out peppers. I mean, they got blooms everywhere. See, they're trying to put out peppers. They got blooms. They got little blooms opening everywhere. Right there. So we'll see if I have any bell pepper. See, that one's trying its best to produce peppers. I think all of my little pepper plants are. And again, these are bell peppers. I mean, I don't know what color each plant is, but I've got yellow bell pepper, I've got red bell pepper, green bell pepper. I've got a mixture of all of it. And that, I think that's a cucumber. Look at the blooms on that thing. It's just covered in blooms. I thought that vine was dead, but it's still alive. My Egyptian walking onions, look how tall they are now. Bell pepper there. My clematis is trying to come back to life. Look at the flowers. Yep, that one rain worked wonders. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Two big ones open right there, and I got more fixing to open. And I thought this side was gone, but it's blooming. There's a bloom up there. I don't think you can see it very well, but it's up there. My basil's coming back to life after I harvested most of it. I showed it no mercy when I was out here cutting basil the other day. And look at this. I've got a big old bell pepper plant growing in here. That thing's about, well, how tall is it? It's about 4 or 5 foot tall. Tallest bell pepper plant I've had. See, that's growing up in that pot with that tomato plant. And it's halfway up the trellis. So let's hope it'll put out some bell pepper. And there's my walking onions there. Those are the first ones I planted of the new set this year. The Egyptian walking onions. And that poor tomato plant is still surviving there. We'll see if it'll put out tomatoes since it's cooled off a little. And my seeds are trying their best to come up in the cinder blocks. My beets. They have pretty leaves. I just hope they produce some big beets down there. That's what I'm leaving them there for, to let them have time to grow. And there's my... Isn't that weird? It's got that long stem, and then it's got leaves at the very top. That's my raspberry bush. It's got 3 long limbs, and it's just got leaves at the end of it. But it's my fault because I cut it off one year, and I didn't realize that they wouldn't come back where I cut them off at. So I'm not cutting it anymore, I don't think. I'm just going to leave it. And that bell pepper plant is just covered in... Oh, I see a little... Look at there. I see a little bell pepper. See that? And there's one down here. So that one's putting out some peppers. I don't know how big they'll get. And there's one there. I don't know how big they'll get, but it's trying its best to put out peppers. We got this one. I got to get some water to this one. It's, for some reason, didn't get enough water. Probably need to do that since I'm over here. And I got water in this. Got greens coming up in there. In this runoff bucket. Go ahead and give it a little bit of compost tea. And see, I got my seeds are coming up there and there. I just hope they'll survive. And my tree collards. And beets right there in that pot. The beet part is the root is under the ground, so I can't tell how big it's getting. So I've got 3 pots of beets, or 2 tubs and a bucket. Oh, look. Look at the blooms on that tomato plant. Now that's a grape tomato, I think. And it'll put out a cluster of tomatoes. Little bitty ones about the size of a marble. So there may be hope. I may get a few tomatoes before the summer's over. All of these are blooming like crazy. I mean, they're trying to put out peppers, so we'll see if I have bell pepper off of them this year. If they do, with these many plants, I should be able to make some chow chow out of mild peppers or sweet peppers instead of the hot peppers. That way I can just add hot to it. You know, I can maybe chop up a jalapeno in them. Because I don't like it real hot. Walking onions. That's the Egyptian walking onions. That okra. And I should have enough okra seed because I'm letting a lot of these pods go to seed on this okra. And I got bell pepper back here. Look at that. Looks like a jungle in here. And my big tall tomato plants. And like I said, they're grape or cherry tomatoes. And those things get to be like 12 foot long. This pepper plant, look, ooh, there's one. Look at there, there's a bell pepper right there. The bloom is still on it. But there it is. It's a little bell pepper. So hopefully I'll be getting me some bell pepper. And I can make the milder cowboy candy where it's not so hot. See, even my little bitty bell peppers are putting out blooms. Look at this. I do believe I see a yellow squash. A couple of them. So there's another one. So I might get me some yellow squash before the summer's over too. I'm happy to see that. This needs water. I'm going to have plenty of seed out here. I've just left those okra because I've not been getting enough from the other plants to even pick them. So I'm just going to leave them, let them go to seed, and I'll have plenty of seed to plant next year. And next year I'm going to try to get them all in one spot, one area. Yeah, these need to be watered again. Those pepper plants are just full of blooms. So these will have bell pepper too. It's just covered in blooms. I need to put some Miracle Grow to these pots before they're watered again. Look at that little one. Those little plants, they've got blooms. And they're not more than 8 inches tall. My walking onions, Egyptian walking onions. Bell pepper plants. Looks like cilantro back there. I had planted some, but it bolted, you know, the beginning of the summer when it got so hot. Cilantro don't like it when it gets real hot. These are blooming. So I should get me some bell pepper. And my cucumbers. I mean, they're blooming. I don't know if we'll get any, but and I wish it wouldn't go on the ground. I mean, look at that. That's all down on the ground. Throw it back up on that pot. Oh, there's a cucumber. Look at that. Look at that. My cucumber. I did get me a cucumber. It's about time. And there's another one there. It's not big enough to pick. And that one was hiding. But for some reason, I've got plenty of bees around here this year. But they're just not pollinating stuff. I mean, this is a funky looking cucumber, but it is a cucumber. And look at this, my foot-long beans. I got 2 foot-long beans here. Look at that. You could take 3 or 4 of these foot-long beans and make a mess of beans. And I got one over here I saw. It got so heavy that it breaks the... I mean, look at this. That's a bean, y'all. And I've been trying to get this to grow up. But for some reason, it doesn't want to. But these are going to be growing up that trestle again, too. So, won't be much longer before I should be getting some foot-long beans. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to hold the camera. And I didn't bring the tripod. But look at that. Foot-long beans. And my greens are coming up down in the tower here. My basil has rebound, and I've got this tomato that's still living. I don't know if it'll produce tomatoes this summer, but my basil sure is growing good this year. And another pepper plant. My greens. See, I seeded greens down in here when I pulled out the dead plants. And a lot of them are coming up. Okra. My mint's coming back to life. I got stuff growing in there, and I don't remember what seed I put in there. But I got some kind of melon, looks like, coming up in there. Right there. Onions. Tomato plant here. Another pepper plant. Another pepper plant here. Another tomato. Look, it's putting out a bloom right there. My greens. Another pepper plant. And I got 1 or 2 places here in these blocks that seeds are coming up. Right there. Here. And there. And there. So maybe the marigolds will survive. Another pepper plant down there. And my clematis again. Hopefully things will be a lot better next year. But anyway, I just wanted to get on here and give a quick update on a lot of this stuff. Look at that. I keep turning this aloe vera, trying to get these pieces to straighten out and go toward the sun instead of curving over on top of the plant. But they still want to curve over on the top, so I don't know. That's the first one I've had that does that. I don't know what caused it to do it. And I've got either a squash or some kind of melon coming up in there. I remember I planted seeds in there, but I don't remember what. And this is finally growing. Since I got rid of all the dead zinnias and got the other stuff out of there, these flowers are finally starting to grow. And right offhand, I can't remember the name of it. They're the ones that I planted out in the other section. And they were supposed to grow like a bush, but the other ones grew like a vine. So I think they had the seeds mixed up. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I can't. And it looks like I've got more little plants coming up in there. I'm not sure if it's marigolds, zinnias, or what they are. But I do have some more seeds coming up. Look at that. So I guess they'll surprise me. But I think that got pretty. Now that it's cooled off a little bit. And look at that. My mandevilla is still growing like crazy, but not a bloom one yet. Not one bloom. A peppermint. Yeah, I was trying to get this mandevilla to grow up this trellis because it's getting so tall. But it hasn't got one bloom on it yet. So we'll see. It was so hot on it, it just would not bloom. But just wanted to give you an update on stuff. That's where we stand with the garden right now. My Egyptian walking onions there. You can see I harvested the green tops off of them and used them in a dish the other day. My mother of millions. And look at all the babies she's putting out. Look at all the stuff on the leaves. Those are the little things that will drop and start another plant. The only thing is I don't have a pot under here where they can drop and produce, you know. They'll just drop on the ground or they'll drop in these other pots down here. And here's another one. That's one that I pulled out of the bottom of this pot because it dropped it in the dirt and it started another plant. And see, it's already putting out stuff to grow another plant right there. Those will just drop, and wherever they drop in the dirt, they'll have more plants. And I've got this under it. So I'm not going to be surprised if I have Mother of Millions come up in this pot next year. So with that, I'm going to wish you a good day. Y'all have a blessed day. Please like, share, and subscribe to my videos. I'll see you on my next one. Bye now.